Oda has done it again. Our balls deep theory about Dragon being in the Marines has come true, meaning that Dragon versus Akainu is also happening. Let's go! 8 years have passed since the God Valley incident. Kuma is still chilling in the Sorbet Kingdom as a pastor, helping the people in need. Specifically old folks, because no young person wants to live in its horrible conditions where everything you earn is taken away for heavenly tribute for the cold-hearted king, and a lot of people are just dead of starvation in the prisons. Seeing the desperate conditions of the people, Kuma has been using his pawpaw fruit powers to take away the little pains like backaches, knee pains, and such for these old folks. He only does this once a week, but even then, Ginny yells at him to stop, because it turns out that the bubbles Kuma extracts from people needs to be absorbed by another, otherwise it will just go back to its original owner. So every Sunday after the healed leave, he takes on this burden upon himself. Yes, bro is having a nothing happen moment every week.
Come on now, dawg. Come on, man.
Even with Kuma's Buccaneer DNA making him sturdy as hell, it's still a lot of pain. That's why Ginny is so against him doing this, but Kuma says that he just likes making others feel just a little bit happier. He wants to be a tiny ray of light in this dark world for the people, following in footsteps. Just like how his father gave Kuma hope with the story of even as slaves in Marie's Rock. It's like being stuck in a dark cave and you seeing that tiny sliver of light seep in. It will give you hope that one day you might get out. Furthermore, Kuma says that if there is no one to shoulder the pain and suffering of these people, then it will just fester and the cycle of oppression will just keep coming back. This is kind of like what Dragon and the revolutionaries are all about. They go from island to island and take on the burden of helping the civilians revolutionize their country for the better. But things aren't all gloom and doom as 5 more years pass and Ginny is tired of being Kuma's friend, so she asks him to marry her.
It should have been me, not him!
Now, if you guys were asked to get married by one of the baddest baddies in One Piece, I know it would have been a yes before you could even finish the sentence. But Kuma isn't down bad like us. He instead deals an Uno reverse card on the girl and friend zones her.
This is bullshit!
However, he doesn't make this decision lightly. Ginny is of course upset as she knows he loves her, but Kuma has a lot of PTSD about what happened to him and his parents when it was revealed that he had Buccaneer DNA. He's worried that if he marries Ginny, her fate would be the same as his mother. During this 5-year gap, the freedom fighters led by Monkey D. Dragon have also started gaining a name for themselves as their wanted posters have been issued. Kuma of course idolizes Dragon as he's going around inciting riots and revolutions in countries like the Sorbet Kingdom across the world, becoming a beacon of hope for these people. However, right now, they aren't a military force as Dragon creates the revolutionary army after the O'Hara incident in 3 more years. And that is exactly where our flashback takes us. Sorbet Kingdom has passed a new law where you are allowed to do whatever you want to the Southerners, so the army has started enslaving them. The king is basically trying to cosplay as the Celestial Dragons who can take away a country's rights if they don't pay up. He doesn't see the citizens as being of the same class as him. Turns out that this dude turned the entire southern province into a lawless region which isn't a part of Sorbet anymore. He has done this because the heavenly tribute to the Celestials is calculated through the country's population. So if he claims the southern province as not being part of Sorbet and has all the old people go there, then he's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The old people can't already pay any money because they can't really work, plus the heavenly tribute has gotten cheaper. But this is the same cycle Kuma wants to stop by shouldering their burden. If your arm gets infected by playing in garbage all day, you don't just cut it off and keep playing in it. Sooner or later, you will get infected again. Getting rid of the older population into the southern side is just a band-aid for the moment. As time passes, the citizens in the northern side will grow older too, so will you get rid of even more of the population? At that rate, you'll be left with like 0 people. What are you gonna do then? However, since the strongest military force on the island is the royal army under the king's command, he could still do whatever he likes on the southern side by force. He just doesn't claim him as his. This is also reminiscent of what the nobles at Luffy's home of Dawn Island did to Great Terminal. It was a lawless area which the outcasts of society called home, but once the nobles got tired of looking at it and to appease the celestial visiting, they burned it down, hoping that the people would be eviscerated too. true. Kuma won't let this slide though, as he comes to the people's aid only to be routed by the overwhelming force of the army. Remember, Kuma has been a pastor all his life up until now. He may possess the pawpaw fruit power and buccaneer DNA, but he isn't a fighter, so he gets his ass thrown in jail. But he isn't alone, as Ginny and Bonnie's future crewmates didn't sit still, getting arrested as well. Then a huge explosion was heard and two shadowy figures enter, overthrowing the king and the army in one full sweep. And it's none other than Ivankov and Dragon. Yup, the revolutionary army with their full force have come to rescue the Sorbet kingdom. Up until now, they had just been freedom fighters who didn't engage in outright military conflict because, one, they were broke and Dragon hated violence and had disdain for the law of the world where it's a crime to ask questions. This is at the crux of Dragon's character, where he sees the navy and the government with its rules as nothing but restrictions to one's freedom, which he is trying to change without war. But the Ohara incident, which happened the same year, had a profound impact on him. It completely changed his views on what his freedom fighters needed to do in order to turn the world upside down. So now, in his new army, everyone is taught combat training to fight. After joining, Kuma is curious as to how Dragon knows so much about weapons and managing an army, and this is when Oda confirms our balls deep prediction that Dragon used to be in the Marines.
Congratulations.
This shouldn't come as a surprise to any of you, because throughout Dragon's upbringing, Garp would venture back home once in a while to visit his family and implant the idea of becoming a Marine, much like he does later on with Luffy and Ace. However, unlike them, Dragon followed Garp's teachings and at the age of 17 joined the Navy, only to find out that there was no justice there. He would be sent as the government's dog to wipe out innocent citizens who had done nothing but question the system, or literally protect celestial dragons who wipe out entire nations for just the sport of it. But during his time at the Navy, Dragon must have met akainu, who joined 5 years after Dragon did. This would obviously make him Sakazuki's superior, as we already know how busted the Monkey D family are, and with Garp's training, Dragon would have no issue in climbing the ranks similar to Kobe. We also get a hint this chapter as to when Dragon must have left the Navy, which was around 25 years ago when he got his first wanted poster. So he was well acquainted with the future admirals, as he had been with them for 8 years. The admirals and dragons share a parallel with a Chinese myth where 3 creatures and a white dragon safeguard the seas. Akainu represents the red dog, Kuzan embodies the white pheasant, and Kizaru is likened to the yellow monkey. These creatures were loyal to a malevolent king, but only the white dragon recognized the king's wickedness and subsequently departed. In a similar vein, Dragon harbors growing doubts after observing the events of God Valley and numerous other acts of cruelty justified as justice. Yet, in contrast to Dragon, the 3 admirals have forged their own distinct interpretations of justice, allowing them to align with the prevailing order. But Dragon's path is especially connected to Akainu. Despite holding comparable ranks in the Marines and being of the same age, their journeys have diverged significantly. Akainu relinquished his autonomy to the Celestial Dragons and the government in pursuit of his absolute justice. In contrast, Dragon took the reins of his destiny, establishing a faction to challenge the existing system. Their destinies have been intertwined from the very beginning. Even the Ohara incident was caused by Akainu's buster call, which then led to Dragon finally venturing into the path of the revolutionary army to cement his goals. With Kuma and Ginny both becoming pillars of this revolutionary army, 8 more years have passed, where Ginny is very excited to meet up with Kuma's squadron until she gets captured. No! We all knew this was coming. It's a One Piece flashback. Y'all thought we were gonna have a happy ending? Nope. But there is one question left though. If Ginny and Kuma never got married, nor were they even part of the same squad, then how the hell was Bonnie born? If they got together after saving Bonnie from her captors, then she would be like 13 at this point, right?
FBI, open up!
Hold up, time out. I can get us out of this, guys. I got this. Give me a second to think. What if Bonnie was never born? What if she was Ginny?
Okay, I'm out.
Okay, hear me out, alright? The number one enemy of the revolutionaries are the kingdoms who are linked heavily with the world government, so they are the most logical captors. With Ginny being one of the core members of the revolutionaries, capturing her would put them in a very tough position. For example, they could use her as a bargaining chip for Dragon. Plus, with Ginny being a special slave in Marie Joie, it could mean that she too has special DNA, as seen by just how clever she was during the God Valley incident. Let's not forget, this 11-year-old girl literally started the incident to begin with. So with her in the government's hands, it's possible Vegapunk, who is only friends with Dragon at this point, extracted her DNA and cloned her. However, during the ensuing chaos of her rescue, Ginny died, with only the clone still living. I find it very astonishing just how much Ginny resembles an older Bonnie. Like, she's just her with shorter hair. This clone theory honestly gains so much credence after this chapter because we are told by Kuma that his bubbles always want to go back to his owner unless someone consumes it. But then, why hasn't Kuma's memory bubble that Bonnie touched gone back to him? Why is it still in Vegapunk's lab? Also, the flashback of Kuma getting beaten as a child that Bonnie sees in the memories isn't from his point of view, but from a third-person perspective. Plus, this line by Bonnie in chapter 1074 is hella sus. Like, she says, "Why can't I get any closer?" Maybe she can't get closer because she is viewing the memory through Ginny's eyes, so she can't even move around. Although Ginny died, Kuma, after seeing her clone, must have seen Bonnie as his child because he was in love with Ginny. Then, he gave himself up to the government's experiment so Bonnie could get a green card. Finally, with Oda confirming in the latest SBS that Bonnie has the age fruit, which allows her to change her own age and others, she could easily manipulate herself to be any age. So after taking in the memories of Ginny from the bubble, Bonnie has now learned the real truth of her origins. One of the conditions Kuma must have asked Vegapunk to give him after losing himself as the pacifista must be to protect Bonnie at all cost when she learns the truth of her origin, similar to how he protected Sunny for 2 years during the time skip. That's why he's climbing up the red line to get to her. Bonnie being Ginny also brings the story full circle, where in this chapter, Dragon tells Kuma that he won't regret joining the revolutionaries, that they have his back, but if Ginny died, then it was Kuma who suffers for tangling up Ginny into his mission to give hope to the world. Even Dragon must blame himself for this tragedy, as he was the commander. So Kuma's leap over the red line to safeguard Bonnie after she acquired the memories, followed by Dragon's pursuit to prevent a repeat of the tragedy from 14 years prior, brings this whole narrative and flashback full circle back to its origins. Meaning, Dragon is showing up in chapter 1100. Yep, exactly 1000 chapters after he saved Luffy, he's gonna show up to save the Luffy and Bonnie and Kuma once again. But if you guys want to know more about Dragon's entire story and how we even predicted Dragon's fruit, then go check out the video on screen right now.